No press release announced this. No trending hashtag alerted most people to what it actually means. But right now, something quiet and enormously significant is unfolding around SB19, and almost no one is talking about the real implications. ABC Australia, one of the most respected public broadcasters in the world, is preparing to feature the group in an upcoming segment. For most fans, this is exciting news. For anyone who understands how global careers are actually built, this is not just another feature. This is a threshold. If you value analysis that explains what actually moves careers, rather than just repeats hype, like this video and subscribe. We don't celebrate milestones here. We explain what they mean. Most people have a completely backwards understanding of how global recognition actually works. They think it happens when a video goes viral, or a hashtag trends, or a million fans retweet something. That is not the moment that matters. That is the noise before the moment. The real turning point does not arrive when fans decide an artist is big. It arrives when the institutions outside the fandom decide that the artist can no longer be ignored. That is the invisible line that SB19 has just crossed. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to start at the beginning. SB19 was never supposed to get here. When they debuted in 2018, the map of global pop was effectively closed. The field was dominated exclusively by acts from the United States, Europe, and South Korea. Filipino artists were widely respected for their vocal ability, but the idea that one could break into the center of the global conversation was not even considered a realistic possibility. SB19 did not do what every other emerging act did. They did not reverse engineer the trends that were already working. They did not soften their identity for international audiences. They built something entirely their own, vocals that did not rely on production tricks, songwriting that carried actual emotional weight, choreography that was precise rather than spectacular, and through all of it, an unapologetically Filipino core. For a very long time it did not work. They faced doubt, dismissal, open criticism. For almost 2 years they moved almost entirely unnoticed. Most groups would have quit. Most groups would have compromised. SB19 did neither. Then Go Up happened. Everyone saw the performance spread. Almost no one noticed what it actually represented. This was not a one-off viral moment. This was the first time an audience outside the Philippines looked at a Filipino pop act and did not see a curiosity. They saw something that could stand next to anything else in the world. Most groups would have consolidated local success at that point. That is the standard playbook. You win at home, you stay at home, you enjoy the success you have earned. SB19 did the opposite. They doubled down. They got better. Their music videos became more deliberate. Their songwriting grew deeper. With Mappa, Bazinga and Gento they demonstrated range that no one had expected, while never losing the core identity that made them distinct. They did not chase the global sound. They built a sound that the world would eventually come to. And then there is Aten. This is the part that almost every outside observer gets completely wrong. This fandom is not just loud. It is not just passionate. It is strategic. There are very few fan communities in the world that understand the mechanics of global visibility as well as this one does. They do not just post. They build momentum. They stream consistently, they amplify evenly, they do not waste energy on short-term viral wins that fade in 48 hours. For 3 years they have methodically, patiently pushed SB19 higher, one quiet incremental win at a time. For a very long time the industry ignored this. They wrote it off as fandom hype. That is the default reaction. Every emerging act has fans. Almost none of them have fans that can generate sustained, consistent, growing global attention over multiple years. That is the part that eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Once an artist crosses that invisible line, things happen in a very specific, predictable order. First, independent music blogs start covering them. Then industry analysts start mentioning them in passing. Then finally, one major mainstream outlet decides that this is no longer a niche story. This is a cultural trend. That is where ABC Australia enters the picture. Most people outside the region do not understand why this particular outlet matters so much. ABC does not do fan service. They do not chase clicks. They do not feature artists because their fans spam their comment section. For decades they have been the outlet that identifies the next wave before it crests. When they decide to cover an artist, it is never just about that artist. It is because that artist represents something larger that is happening. They did not feature Latin music artists until it was clear an entire genre was breaking globally. They did not feature Afrobeats until it was obvious the landscape was shifting permanently. They did not feature K-pop until it was no longer a subculture. They do not lead trends. They confirm them. That is the part that makes this moment so significant. ABC is not coming to SB19 because they are a popular Filipino group. They are coming to SB19 because they are the public face of the next major wave of global pop. Over the last 10 years we have watched this exact sequence play out 3 separate times. A regional genre builds an organic global audience. The mainstream industry ignores it for as long as possible. One respected outlet breaks the seal. Then every other outlet follows. Then the deals come. Then the tours. Then the world accepts that the landscape has changed forever. Latin music followed this path. Afrobeats followed this path. K-pop followed this path. Right now P-pop is standing at exactly that same threshold. And the timing could not be more deliberate. This is not happening by accident. ABC is not moving now because of one viral clip. They are moving now because SB19 has spent the last 12 months systematically proving that they are not a novelty. Their festival performances. Their steadily growing international view numbers. The consistent evolution of their work. They have stopped being an act that people are surprised by. They have become an act that people expect to see. If this segment airs, it will not be the end of the process. It will be the beginning of the domino effect. This is another mechanism that almost no one outside the industry understands. Major media outlets do not compete to be first. They compete to not be wrong. Once one respected, neutral outlet has confirmed that a story is legitimate, every other outlet immediately gives themselves permission to cover it. Music publications will follow. Television studios will reach out for interviews. Festival bookers will start making calls. What starts as one 7-minute segment can turn into 12 months of accelerating international momentum. That is not speculation. That is the pattern that has played out for every single global breakout of the last decade. For Otten, this moment feels like validation. And it is. It is confirmation that 7 years of work, 7 years of showing up when no one else was watching, has not just built a fan base. It has built something that cannot be ignored. But there is another layer here, one that runs far deeper than music. For decades Filipino artists have operated under an invisible ceiling. Everyone knew the talent was there. Everyone knew the ability was there. But no one in the global industry ever seriously considered that they could operate at the very highest level. SB19 did not just break through that ceiling for themselves. They changed the default assumption. Every opportunity that comes after this will be a little easier for every Filipino artist that comes after them. That is the part of this story that will still matter long after the views have stopped counting. Of course, the segment has not aired yet. Nothing is guaranteed. But that is not actually the news. The news is not that ABC might run a story. The news is that ABC is even considering running a story. That is the signal. That is the moment that everything changes. 6 months ago this would have been unthinkable. 12 months ago no one in that building would have even known the name SB19. Today they are planning a segment. That is the shift. That is the part that you cannot unsee. The global industry does not announce when it changes its mind. It does not put out a press release. It does not trend on Twitter. It just quietly adjusts. One booking agent adds them to a list. One editor adds them to the roster. One executive mentions their name in a meeting. No one makes a big deal out of it. But once it happens, it never goes back. This is the part that most people miss. Right now everyone is arguing about how big the segment will be, how many views it will get, what they will say. All of that is secondary. The important part already happened. The global media apparatus has noticed. SB19 is no longer just a fan story. They are now part of the broader conversation about the future of pop music. There will be setbacks. There will be doubt. There will be people who will still try and dismiss them. But the threshold has been crossed. From this point forward, everything is different. For 7 years, this story has moved one step at a time. From unknown rookies, to national phenomenon, to global fandom. Now they have arrived at the next gate. And for the first time, the gate is not closed. The people on the other side are watching. And they are no longer skeptical. They are curious. Moments like this never feel dramatic while they are happening. No confetti falls. No announcement is made. Most people will not even notice that anything changed. But years from now, the narrative arc of SB19 is completing a critical phase. They moved from local debut to viral phenomenon to catalog builders. Now, they are crossing the threshold from a celebrated regional act to an acknowledged global player. The signal from ABC Australia is the industry's way of saying the audition is over, the main stage engagement is beginning. This is the moment where fan-driven momentum meets institutional recognition, creating a new and more powerful engine for growth. The world is not just watching SB19 anymore. The machinery of the global music industry is beginning to move with them. The question is no longer if they will be recognized, but how they will utilize this newly cemented position to shape the next era of their sound, and of Pinoy pop itself.